Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to today's masterclass of Summer Film School. And our today's guest is Angely Schanelecové. We will do it in English, so if you need Czech translations, interpreters are ready, so get your headphones. Jenom technicky v češtině na začátek, pokud potřebujete český překlad, tak jsou k dispozici sluchátka, tak snad jste si je vzali. And we will go through filmography of our guest and regarding various films and the creative process which is behind them. So maybe let's start from the very beginning. What are the original ideas or maybe images from which you start to develop your projects?
I mean, naturally, it's different from film to film, and it can be, sometimes it's a dialogue. I have no idea, and I start with a dialogue, as it was with Mein langsames Leben, which is not shown here, but there was just a situation between two women, and I started to write a dialogue between the both of them, and the only thing I knew that was I imagined that they both live in the same place, like Berlin, but the one will leave for half a year and the other one will stay this time. So this was the beginning. At Orly, which was just be screened, it was the airport as a space, which was the first moment where I started to think about the film.
And could the dialogue be like overheard dialogue, someone talking on a tram or elsewhere, like
no.
This, like pieces of reality that doesn't work for you?
No, but sometimes I hear sentences and then I remember them because I think they are strange or beautiful or like a riddle. But normally it doesn't happen to me that I can use them. I have them somewhere and then I try, but yeah.
And then what is the next step? You start to write? Is it a short story or?
Yes, it came up that I start to write like prosa. I mean, like a short story. Yes, and this is then the way to develop the characters and to find out what I want to tell, and when this is finished. So then I start again with the script means, okay, then I know a bit more, but then I start from the beginning again, and I have some, characters in my mind, and maybe also some other things which happen, but it can develop in a different way than the story. So I feel free again to develop.
Some of your films are like hard to talk about because they are about the places and rhythm of things, not that much about rationalized structures and getting deep into some topical stuff. So do you pitch the project or how do you describe it before the film is born itself?
I mean, that's two different things. I mean, it's true what you say after the film, but it's very different at the moment when I try to finance something. Because, for example, Orly was very easy to finance because when I said the whole film is playing on an airport, and there are only 2 hours, I tell, and there are several people, you will hear what they are talking about. So everyone immediately imagined something, so it was very easy. Or Nachmittag, which is based on a drama from Chekhov, The Seagull, that was also very simple. But sometimes it's really very difficult, also in the beginning. And this makes it hard to finance. It's different.
Afternoon, Nachmittag, starts even on a stage, on a theater stage. Is there any specific relationship or values you find in Chekhov?
Yes, I mean, I was working, before I started to study at the film school in Berlin, I was working as an actress for more than 7 years. And Chekhov and also Shakespeare, these both are very important for me from a very early moment in my life. Like, yeah. And the seagull was, I played the seagull when I was very young, and I kept it in my mind since then. And so, yeah, it came up at a moment where I wanted to think about it more intensely and to see what happens when I start with all that characters in my mind, but everything happens today and it's not historic like in the drama.
Regarding Dreamed Path, your newest film, but not only this one, you were talking about certain kind of fragmentation, or like the piece is coming up from some fragments, pieces from various time, various places. How do you work with this fragmented structure, if I might call it this way?
The structure is developed in the script, not in the editing. That's one important thing which can be said. And I mean, the dream path is the most extreme way in that when we talk about fragmentation, and it's written like that. And the fragments are images, and you can see that from also something like an exhibition. I mean, you see one image after the other, and the question was, what happens if they are put in that way together? What happens if these fragments are seen together, one after the other? That's very, very simple.
And what happens in between them, which is up to the viewer mainly?
Sure, because the viewer is always active. I mean, he's alive. So, and an image creates something and changes when it's followed by another next image. And when I describe that, I think it's necessary, or it's good to know that this isn't an effort at all to see that. I mean, it's not meant like that. And it starts to get an effort only if the viewer asked himself the whole time, what can it mean? I mean, and if he doesn't allow himself to see and to feel, that's all.
You did also film in Prague many years ago, short film, I don't know, it's 10, 15 minutes, or how long is it?
I think 15.
15 minutes, and there was Bohumil Hrobal somehow involved in this. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, sure. There was he wrote a book, Die Zauberflöte, and
Magical Flute?
Yes, and there's a part about Jan Palach, and I don't know whether I pronounce it right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And when I was thinking, that was when I was on the film school, and I was in a documentary seminar, and so this is the only kind of documentary I made, and I had the idea that I will try to find him and ask him to read a part of the magical flute. So that's what I did, and yeah, it was quite difficult to find him because people told me he's there, he's in his house somewhere in the woods, and then he was not there. And then I found him in that famous, pub. And everyone knows that he really liked drinking. And so, yeah, it took me 1 week maybe to find him. And then I talked to him, and he was extremely friendly. It was late in the evening, and he said, yes, for sure, I will do that. That's not at all a problem. And then, yes, I had this don't know, 10 days or something of preparation, and then a few weeks, maybe, I went there with, we were 2. I made the camera, and another student made the sound. And then it was impossible again to find him, because he didn't remember anything that he told me, and I couldn't reach him. So we were searching again. And then we found him in the hospital. Because, we then spoke with a relative, and he told us he's in a hospital. So we visited him there, and he was in a very bad mood. But he remembered that there was something he promised. So, shall I tell it? That in that ausführlichen... So we met him, and then we shot it. And he said he has a very strong headache, and we can only shoot it 1 time. So we made everything, and then we shot it. And because that was in the 90s, so it was not digital, it was with film, with 60 millimeter. And we had a Nagra, which at that time, which was the machine with which you recorded the sound. It's really long ago, and it's a heavy instrument. And then he wanted to be sure that it was really done afterwards. But we couldn't prove because it was on film. So the only possibility to prove it was to let him hear the sound. So it was rolling back to show him, and he listened half the thing, and then it was okay. And he said, okay, so you really wanted to show that we don't come back again and say that there is a mistake. But then we left. And the film is a lot about street crossings. I shot a lot on the street crossings where people move, like wide shots. So then we left, and then I saw a very interesting crossing. So I shot it. And Feria, the one who was working with the sound, forgot that her machine is in the middle of the recorded sound. So half of the piece is now the street atmosphere and not what he read. And we mentioned it back in the hotel. And it was really awful because it was his fault, half. Only our fault, but also his fault. So and then I decided not to go back, but read this missing part by myself. So you see me in the hotel, I'm reading the beginning. And then you have the film, and in the end, you see him reading the second half, which is quite beautiful.
That's quite a student
Long
experience.
story, I'm sorry. Normally, I don't tell anecdotes like that.
And could you imagine any other living author who would you like to visit in any town around Europe and ask him to read something and to employ him this way in a movie?
I don't know. This was in that time because it was documentary, and normally an author is someone who's writing and not reading. And I think there are not so many authors. It's better to read them than to listen to them, I think. There are some, for example, Imre Kertész, who is dead now, who was a very beautiful reader. And I'm sure there are others, but I don't have anyone in my mind. And And the film was not only about Bohumir Rabal. There was also another part of it which was important.
Imre Kertész is, of course, a huge figure of European literature, and at least one of his books was turned into a film. But
yes, and it was very interesting because I didn't saw that film, but I'm sure it's a completely mainstream film. But what I read is that he was not happy, but it was okay for him when he saw it, and that felt quite strange for me because I adore him so much as a writer, but his taste... I mean, I was astonished that he could like such a film, even if I didn't saw it, but I can imagine what it is. And with this subject, to make just a film with extras and how is it done normally, felt very strange for me because this book is so incredible.
I think that was the Sorstalanság, it's called in Hungarian, the man without
Roman eines Schicksallosen, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what
the proper English title is. I'm not sure about it as well. And do you watch mainstream films? Some? And do
yes,
you like
I watch many mainstream films because, I mean, now it's getting less, but I have 2 children, and I always know they are adults. But I love to go to the cinema with them when they were small and also when they grow up. And so the films changed also when they grow up, but I saw a lot of mainstream. I saw all comedies, I saw all animated films like Disney films. I saw a lot of things. But this is something else. I mean, this is something else.
That's why I was asking what kind of narration that we can't see in your films you like.
I mean, I like it as something I can share with my children, for example. I mean, only with my children. I like when I see them laughing, and then it's simple for me to share it. For example, Toy Story. I had beautiful moments with that. It's nice, but I can spend 1.5 hours with it, but not 2 years for making it. I mean, this is not so interesting for me. But I mean, for an afternoon and some popcorn, it's nice.
How did you start with Marseille, your film that is taking place there? And again, there are... For me, I remember pretty much those shots done in the streets, like the atmosphere of the town and of the main character that are once, I would say, like they are interwoven so much that it's the same thing, like atmosphere of the place and atmosphere around the character.
In Marseille, it was there's something happening in the end in Marseille that there's a main character, and so the first half of the film shows her in Marseille, where she's changing an apartment with someone else, and this is the part where you see her in the streets, like making photos and walking around, and then having an encounter also. And then there's a second part, and after that second part, in Berlin, she's going back to Marseille, and there she's getting robbed. And this robbing, it's the right word.
Robbery.
Yes, was the beginning of the film. Very long ago, when I was acting, and when I was started to think about film, and starting to think about what could I tell with film, I was writing a script, and in that script, this moment where a young woman who is not at her home but in another country, like a stranger, is robbed in the way that someone forces her to change the clothes so that he can flee. Is that the right word?
Flee away?
Flee, yes.
Yeah.
And the police thinks that this woman is the robber and catches her, and during that time so very action thing in a way. So, but the fact that they change clothes interested me still. So, but not the moment that, like, you tell something very extreme which happens, and then the film shows what that means for the characters. But in the other way, that this happens in the end. No one expects it. Like in life, it just happens. So I put this robbing in the end, and I wrote a film about that person. How she came to Marseille, what she did there, what happened in Berlin, then again.
I think Marseille was the first film of yours I've seen, and I was probably thinking whether the character is autobiographical when I was watching the film. Nowadays, I don't think so, but what do you think about autobiographical moments in films in general, and your films as well?
I mean, in a way, my films are completely... I cannot write any figure without feeling with that figure or with that character. So in every character, there's something of me. For example, I have never characters I want to show ugly or in the way that they are antagonists, like in a classical... in all of them, I try to find... or I have to find, to be interested in them, something I like, which is beautiful. So none of my films are autobiographic in the way that I tell a story which happened to me, like in Marseille. But I mean, in that character there are a lot of things of me, but also in other ones. So in that sense.
How do you search for your actors? Many of them do have some experience with performing, but very often it's not like regular film acting. Some of them are singers, some of them are stage performers, some of them are non-professionals, absolutely. So how do you find them so you can start to work with them?
Yes, I mean, with actors, I do very normal casting with the dialogues that are already written, and this is for me still the best way to find out whether they can be landed by the dialogue, or whether they need some psychological explanations, or don't know, where does this figure come from, where will it go, and all those things which in my eyes help nothing in front of the camera. So I give them the text, and I ask and I listen what happens when they say it. And in the same way as I'm interested in actors, I'm interested in everyone else. So there's always that mixing, because I mean there are different tasks in the films. For example, in Marseille, when in the end the actress, her name is Maren, and the character, she's in a police station and she tells what happens to her. And in the script I wrote down that she tells it and then she starts to cry. This is quite hard for an actor, because this needs to be, an actor is used to other things, and he's able to do other things, that's clear. But in the same way, an actor is often not anymore able to do things which are only possible for a non-actor. So sometimes actors are really empty, And if you just want to film a face, like in Der Traum auf der Weg, so it was not at all senseful. I mean, it was difficult. Would have been very difficult to cast only actors. So with Maren, I know her a long time, and she knows me, and so it was possible. But all the others, they would have spent too much time for the wrong things, which wouldn't have helped the story at all. Or not the story. The story. I mean, the way how it is filmed, and what I wanted from them. So it was better to search for other people.
And Martine Eggert, do I pronounce her name right? Is again in your new film, The Dreamed Path. So there has to be something about her for you.
But also she's playing an actress. Yeah. So it would have been very strange to have a character whose profession is being an actress and take a non-professional. I mean, it's not impossible, but I don't want to make it more hard as it is. I mean, so yeah.
And when they are on the set, how do you direct them? How, like, precisely do you follow the dialogues, or how free they are?
Yeah, I follow the dialogues completely word by word, and then I tell them what to do.
Simple as that.
Yes, it's in a way simple as that. Yeah, there's no improvisation. It sounds simple, but yeah, not everyone is able to use that simplicity. I mean, yeah. How can I say it better? Do you understand what I mean? I mean, an actor, especially, I mean, in Germany, the fact that I'm working in Germany influences a lot what I'm doing, because when I'm shooting with German actors, if they are actors. So these actors, it's important what they do normally. I mean, I can choose actors which are on theater, that's the one thing. But if I want to shoot with actors who shoot, then they shoot a lot of television stuff. And so they are used to that. And they have never, and this is very difficult. So that's what I mean. They are not used to work with that, what you call simplicity, and what it maybe is. They work with other things. And this I cannot use, or this doesn't help.
And when there is this written dialogue you would like to follow, and they, for example, forget it, or they make a mistake, some word is different, or then you say cut, and you start from the very beginning, because every word matters?
Yes. Normally, yes. I mean, if they change something which is better as what I wrote, then not. But it's difficult to make it better, because I work a lot of that things, really a lot, and a long time, on every commata of everything, and it's not something I just write, and then when I test it. And then I know exactly what I want from them. And if they can make it better with using another word or another sentence, whatever, then I would never say cut. But this normally doesn't happen at all. Because it's important that they feel how they can use the dialogue. You understand? Is it clear what I say? If they, because I write it to help them on the way, to help them to do something, to feel something. I write it in the way that it's possible for them to understand. And if they don't understand, then they try to change. But this doesn't help at all. And so And normally they don't change anything. They are some. There's one person which made it better. That was a very, very special person in Nachmittag who played the older brother, Fritz Schedewy. He was so incredible good, and he did things I said, okay, that's really good. But you have to come to that point. He was old, and he was so extremely by him, with himself. He was, yeah, he was better than I could imagine him, or I could imagine the character I gave him.
How do you test those dialogues? You said, I write it, I think about it a lot, and
I
then I test
them.
it by yourself.
Yes, so I tested, yes, and I also test movements. Because when I, since a few years, I'm also teaching in Hamburg at an art school, which with a film department, and it often happens, and I know that a director is asking the actor to do something, but he does not know what he asks. He asks it for a special reason, because he wants to reach a special aim. And he does not know that the way to go there has to be, how can I say? He asks things which are not possible. But the actor does it anyway because he's asked. But then it's, yeah. You see it, and as a viewer, maybe you are used to it because you see it the whole time. I mean, you just have to put on the television. You see the whole time things which are just made, not because this means something in the moment it's done, but because it has to show something. You understand what I mean? There's a difference. Do I make myself clear?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's important not to ask things which cannot be done or cannot be said. I mean, in the moment, you do it. I hope I can make myself clear, because this is something important. I mean, I can, with a simple example, you want to tell a special story, and for that story, it's important that a sentence has to be said. Otherwise, the viewer does not know something which is important to know. So the only thing is that the actor has to say it so that the viewer gets the information. But often it's that this sentence has no meaning for the character. He just is used to bring information. And this is a simple example. Yeah. There are much more difficult and hidden situations like that, where yeah, it's just nothing, because it's not right.
Yeah, I really think this is a key theme, like how to do something authentic with help of the authors and actors. What do you do when there's any kind of problem with the actor? Sometimes they are simply not in the right mood, or when you were rehearsing, then it was okay, but on the set, something doesn't work. How do you react?
Then I have a big problem, because then I fall back in those situations I know very good, because I was acting along many years, and I tried. I mean, now this doesn't happen to me anymore. But for example, I don't know, in Mein langsames Leben, there was a problem with that what you describe, and it was senseless. in a way, yeah, in the end it's senseless. And then you do the best you can. But it will never become good. And the most important thing is to choose the right people. And yes, I mean, with the experience I made, I was more and more careful with cast and with searching and then it's very necessary and helpful when you can avoid those situations, because you lose time and
do you do your best, but you still know that it's not gonna be what you wanted. So
yes,
that's kind of
it does.
depressing.
It can never come back. Yeah, sometimes then it's lost. And then the only chance I have in the editing is to throw it away.
Again, many of your films, for me, are really important because of the characters connected to the place where the film is taking place. So do you rehearse with them only in a room around the table, or do you go outside? Do you visit the real places where you are about to shoot, and you like try how the atmosphere is working? How is it going together with the actors, and or do you stay inside?
I think Nachmittag was the only film where I did some rehearsals at the location. Normally it's not possible because, yes, I mean, there are only original locations, and yeah, you cannot visit them when. And so Nachmittag was the only thing where I did it because it was that one house, and we paid so much so we could go in before also, and the actors were young and they had time, but the conditions normally are not like that I can do it. So it's parallel. I work with the actors, but with some of them I don't work. I just cast them and then I don't work. Or I cast them and then I work somewhere else. I mean, like, and parallel, I'm visiting the locations with the DOP, and then we just make photos for the with stand-ins for the positions and find out what we want to do.
And do you use standard location managers, or do you do it rather by yourself?
Yes, both. Yes. You mean for the searching, or?
Yeah,
Yeah, both. I mean, it depends how much time, how much money, how difficult locations are. It's always better to do it by yourself, because if you have a location in mind which you did not saw before, then it happens very often that you cannot find it like you imagine it. So when you then search by yourself and you see something, then maybe you can find something which interests you in another way. And then you can decide, okay, what would that mean for the scene? And is my interest in that location another one, but as strong as my former interest? And then yes, it happens that then I'm rewriting a scene because I saw a location and I had the feeling it makes it better. But the location manager can never do it. He will always try to get as close as possible to what you described. But this as close as possible is not what I described often, because it's not possible to find it. But as close as possible is maybe worse than another thing which is completely something.
Orly, that's one location, very specific. So can you briefly tell us why Orly, this second Parisian airport, not Frankfurt, not, I don't know, Charles de Gaulle, like the main Parisian airport, or any other airport?
The first thing was that I was in Orly when I had the idea. And yeah, the architecture in Orly, because it's built in the 50s. I forgot. I think so, more or less. And there's that really very huge hall, which is quite beautiful and simple concerning the architecture, and very beautiful in terms of light. And so I think it was not coincidental that I was sitting there and started to have a very... I could see the people who were moving through this hall very clearly. And so I had the idea, how beautiful, can it be nice, or would it be interesting to hear them talking? And to know a bit more about few of them. Not as in a documentary, but fictional. And then I started to write, and it took us almost a year to get the permission for Orly. So during that time, I was thinking about, I already wrote the script, and then the script was finished, and still the location was not clear. So I thought, okay, now I'm sure that I want to shoot that film. Where else can I shoot it? And I thought about other airports, and I'm completely sure there would have been other ones where it would have also be possible. Not maybe the very new ones, because they are full of corners and plants and shops and everything. And it was important to have that huge space. And also simple space, because it's a small airport, but it's not so small, it's not too small. So, what was the beginning of the question?
Why Orly? That was the question.
Yes. So, but and then it was clear that if we pay enough, then we can shoot there. But also because that was really strange, because normally, French is not such a... It's not a language far away. It should be possible to communicate, but it took us months to make them believe that we don't want an empty space. I said it, but we had many conferences with many people on that airport. They are organized very good in that way, because there are often shootings. And so almost till the end of the preparation, they showed us spaces which are closed now, because they didn't believe that we really want to shoot during the normal Betrieb. Normal run, because we would have never had all those extras, and I would have never done that work to put them in the image. That's an awful imagination for me. So, but then after some time, it was clear.
And was it hard in terms of production, like all those people who are in the image, they all knew they are going to be in the film, they signed something, or...
No. But this question was the running gag of the preparation. Every 2 days someone said, but who will have the piece of paper which has to be signed by all the people? And because there was no answer, the question was asked again and again and again. And then I was also afraid what would happen. And then we had a probe shooting, a rehearsal shooting in a way. So we went there with 2 big cameras. We didn't shot with, we shot with 2 reds. We were really seen. So we put the reds, and we made with stand-ins also a shooting day. And then we mentioned that the people in the airport, all the flying guests, they were not at all interested in us. So it went to the opposite, that we were completely enthusiastic about the fact that it's so possible. So we weren't afraid anymore, and also it was clear that it was impossible to let people sign, because in some shots you have 200, 300 people. I mean, it would have been impossible. So we just did it. But then, during doing it, and also in the editing room, more in the editing room, then I saw that, yeah, we just had enough material. But there was a lot of material which couldn't be used. Because the other problem was we didn't have enough time to control every shot on the afterwards, on the video Ausspiegelung. And so the only thing I could do, the only thing I saw was what I saw during the shot. And it was impossible to see everything, because I was concentrated on the actors, and it was impossible to realize every moment which maybe disturbed the image. This I saw in the editing room, so we had to throw away many takes, but in the end, yeah, we had enough. And it was like that. The fact that we had 2 cameras and that we used the long lenses, so it was never really clear what we did. It was not so clear for the people who was in focus. And because we never asked anyone to change the place, we asked no one nothing. We just waited till the situation around the actors was in a way that we wanted to shoot it. No people who disturbed, no, and then we tried it, and if it didn't work, we did it again. But the people mentioned very soon that we wanted nothing from them, so there was maybe a moment where they looked around, but then, yeah.
There is Germany, but also Greece in The Dreamed Path, your newest film, and England. What draw your attention to these specific countries? I mean, Greece and England. Was it done according to actors according to story? No. I mean, this was also autobiographic moment, but this is not only autobiographic. I mean, more for my age, because the beginning is in the 80s, and in the 80s there were huge amount, a lot of people who were 20 or around 20s who were going to Greece. That was, I mean, everyone I knew did it with a backpack, and yeah, from island to island. So very short, it was clear if I have two strangers meeting themselves and falling in love, it can be in Greece, because this place was so full of young people from everywhere, without money, backpacking and traveling. And so Greece was it. And then, yeah, then with England, I don't know. I didn't want to shoot in France again, because France was very occupied by the films. I mean, I made them for me and occupied by the experiences, and I had the feeling this is something else. The character is also not French. He's much more mute, much different. So, yeah, then it was England. And this film, The Dreamed Path, you edited yourself. There was no one of your 2 or 3 editors you co-worked with. It was out of necessity or your decision, this I need to do myself?
I mean, I edited the first films I did by myself, the first 3 long films, and then the analog editing was over. I mean, with, I think, Marseille, when I shot Marseille, no one anymore edited analog, but digital, and I never learned digital editing. So, yes, then I started to work with an editor, which wasn't a problem because it's normal, I mean. But the whole time I had the feeling I can edit by myself, it's just a technical problem. And, yes, and then I did the Dreamlike Path, and the Dreamlike Path, the editing is quite extreme. And I thought, I'm faster when I learn it now, because it's not so difficult, than when I explain everything the whole time. So I did it again by myself. And yeah, it was interesting.
Are you satisfied with it? Like, I mean, with the technical side of this job?
Yes, sure. Sure. I mean, it's not so complicated. I mean, you just have to decide that you spend a bit time to do it. I mean, it sounds lächerlich.
Strange?
Yeah, it sounds strange maybe because, I mean, now everyone is editing digital, but with Avid, yeah, you have to, I mean, it's not important to say that. But it was, I mean, the experience, again, after so many years, not being beside the editor, but doing it by yourself was quite interesting and good again. And now the next film I'm going to shoot, I will edit also by myself.
Maybe one more question to the Dreamed Path. Is or isn't there some political background entering the film? If it's Greece in the 80s and Germany around the 1989 reunion, is there something political?
No, I mean, it would have been strange not to tell about that. I mean, it's the first time that I have this historic part and this long term of time I'm telling. So, and I mean, I was when I was thinking about the scenes in Greece, I thought, okay, I have a young couple. They are not from Greece. They are strangers there, and I want to have them together with young people from Greece who are not traveling, who stay in a country. For what reason? Because they are politically engaged. So it was there. And then when we are in England, and it's 5 years later, so it's that time of when the wall came down, and I was thinking about what could he see in television. I mean, this was what was in every television worldwide. So it would have been strange not to do it like that and not to use it. So I did it. But it was clear that in the end, as films are seen and rezipiert,
viewed or
yes, it was clear that everyone will speak about. But as I came to it, it was as I come to all the other things also. It's not that I wanted to be more political than in all my other films, and I'm not. So the other films are as political. I mean, even there is no selection or walls breaking down.
Okay, I think there's time for you to ask. We got a microphone because we record it also. So I will hand you the mic and just pass it around and ask whatever you like to hear and discuss.
Hi, I just wanted you to ask, did you edit all your stuff when were you at the film school? Did you edit even then everything you made?
In the film school, yes. And I'm sure that the editing was a big pleasure for me. I think it's the work in the end, and then you are again alone. After writing, you have this time where everyone wants something and asks something, and yes, and then you are again alone, and that's very beautiful.
So even you didn't have the feeling of needing some kind of consultation with someone, or you were just speaking with somebody you trusted, or you were just you knew that it's right the way you edited it.
The point is that when I started to make films, I had the feeling, because I was working before as a theater actress, and thinking about film was a feeling for me that I start from the very beginning again, not to build up something I already started, but to start from the very beginning. And this was also because I could make a film which is only 2 minutes or 4 minutes. So, and for 2 minutes or 4 minutes, you have the time you want to spend to find out what you really mean. And you don't need to ask someone then, because you don't have a big thing. It's just a few minutes, and you can ask yourself, yeah, but what does that mean for me? What does make sense for me? And in the film school, I mean, the first film I did was 4 minutes, and I edited it 2 months minimum. And I tried everything out, and that was much more better than to ask someone. And so it was getting longer and longer.
And I believe, or I assume that there are no like target groups and these audience-focused test screenings in your case, or are there?
No. That would be funny.
And do you have someone you believe and you would like to?
Yes, I had someone, but he's not alive anymore. Oh. But yeah, yes.
So someone to show it to and maybe discuss some parts you are not sure
it's not
about.
a question. Maybe in the editing, this in a way in my films is over. In the editing, you can just find out what the material does, and to see that and to follow that. Because my films, in a way, are edited already in the camera. I don't shoot from different angles and then say, this is better, this is better. I don't have the money and I don't have the time, because my films have to be very cheap. So the only way to do that is to think before about it and then to decide. And I never shoot alternatives. And when I shoot a very long dialogue, where you have more than one take, I shoot very short overlaps, like 2 or 1 sentence. So this is not the point. But in the writing, that was in former times something, which I discussed. But, not with people, only with one person. And it's hard to find that person. And,
Anyone? Any question?
Well, I have another one, if I can.
Yeah.
Why did you decided to express yourself finally with film? Because you're writing your own stories and your films, but why film specifically, if you can?
I think the beginning was that I was acting, so that was close to me. But then I never thought about directing theater, because I wanted to be in the light, in the daylight, and in original locations. I was really interested in that. Not to build up a setting on a stage, but to go on the street and to create something which is real and fiction in the same time. And this was only possible out of the theater. And I was really interested in framing. So then it's film. And during that time, when I was young, in my 20s, so that, I mean, that's the time when you maybe do something, but you maybe also think about whether you could do something else. I mean, and I was working at the theater, but I was seeing more and more films and less theater. I was working there, but I mentioned that theater is not, I mean, theater can be the most great thing in the world, but it's not, it's hard to find it. Often it's really awful. And but I saw more and more films I was interested in, so, and writing is something else, yeah. I think, yeah. I think because acting was so close to me, because I did it, it came up like that.
Are you a film student?
Yes.
More questions? Some of your films premiered in Locarno, some of your films premiered in Cannes. What's the importance of film festival scene for you?
Oh, it's terrible important. I mean, if you make films which don't have huge amounts of viewers, then you depend on the festivals. And not in terms only, I mean, you want that the film is seen, that's clear, but that's the one thing. The other thing is to receive money for the next film. And for that, it's important where the films are shown. And so that Cannes was very important for me, and it's very important. But it's impossible to do something against that. It's like that.
No more questions? If not, then thank you for coming, and especially thanks to Angely Schanelecové. Thank you.